Yes, guys and girls, welcome to Co-op Conversations. This is a brand new gaming podcast with a twist, where instead of talking about gaming, we're going to be speaking all things mental health. And I'm saying we a lot because this isn't a solo thing. I'm going to have a different guest on every single week. And my guest for episode number 1 is none other than the Warzone captain of the Cedar Avenue Esports Warzone team, Mr. Andrew. Andrew, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you very much for having me on as the first guest.
No,
Looking
you're very
forward to
welcome.
it and feeling honoured.
And thank you for being the guinea pig like we were speaking about. It's going to be very trial and error. And talking of trial and error, the game that you can see we was going to play was Rematch. But annoyingly, as we've just found out, Rematch isn't crossplay just yet. So that's kind of thrown a big spanner into the works. But yeah, that is what it is. That is one of them things.
We can just pretend we're playing.
Yeah. I'll jump into some random lobbies and you can just pretend that the one that's scoring all the goals is Andrew. And when you see me letting all the goals, that's normal, so you won't have to pretend much. So, that's the first question out of the way because, well, no, I can still kind of ask you it. My first question, obviously, was going to be, why did you pick Rematch? I would have loved to have played Rematch with you. We'll have to wait for them to update it. But yeah, why was Rematch your choice of game?
I think, well, the fact that one is new, it's a very social game. Secondly, and from what I've played of it so far, it is a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you just need that. Like, there's a lot of games that are obviously like very serious and competitive. Not saying that this isn't competitive, but this is a game that you can sort of play and you don't have to, unless you're playing rank mode, obviously, but you don't have to actually be like sweating it out all the time.
Yeah, I agree, actually. It's kind of a game where it's kind of like Rocket League. You can pick it up and play, but if you want to rank up, you've got to start sweating it out. But yeah, it is a good game. It is very social, just not social enough as we needed it today. But yeah, that is one thing. I'm shocked more than anything. I'm fully shocked that it's not crossplay. You just assume that like new games are going to come out and everything's crossplay because no one plays on the same thing anymore.
No, exactly.
What
I think,
can you do?
Yeah, like you said, I think most games are just, well, yeah, every game that I've ever seen come out recently has always been crossplay from the start.
Yeah, exactly. And I know obviously we think of like new games and you instantly think of games that are made by big studios. Obviously this is an indie game. But yeah, I'm just still shocked. I just thought it was a thing that would be in like every single game, but that's the first learning curve of this podcast, I suppose. Trek it is crossplay before we do anything else.
Yeah.
But we know
Well,
that for
hopefully
next time.
going forward it won't be too long before they do actually have the crossplay, hopefully.
Yeah, I know they're talking about doing an update. Obviously, yeah, like you say, it's a new game, so one, for them, there's going to be teething issues, but two, obviously, they're going to want to keep on top of it and keep it fresh. So I can't see it being too long.
No,
But
even AAA games nowadays still have teething issues. Well, I say teething issues, some games just never actually sort them out.
I was going to say, yeah, look at how many like new releases recently you have, and the game's just like, oh, it's buggy, and you just think, yeah, you know what, it'll sort itself out. Yeah, unfortunately, it never does.
Yeah.
I think it was No Man's Sky. It come out.
For myself, yeah, it was unplayable pretty much, No Man's Sky, when it first came out.
And like, they promised so
really
much.
updated it, and it's and now it's like, well, it's probably like the biggest redemption game they've had.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's meant to be really good. I still haven't played it, to be honest.
I know Cyberpunk was another one that was similar. That was like virtually unplayable on consoles.
Yeah.
And then, they sort of picked that up.
That's one, to be fair, I'd never played that either. And with the Switch 2 coming out, it was... It come with it, actually. It come with the Switch 2, and yeah, what a game. Unreal game. And the fact it runs on a Switch as well is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think as soon as they added games like The Witcher 3 on Switch and now, it was kind of like, oh my god, like there's actually so much potential for a handheld
they
console.
can actually run games. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't think anyone ever expected the Switch to have sort of that capability to run a game as big as The Witcher or Cyberpunk or anything sort of that caliber.
Yeah, I was shocked when they announced Witcher 3, like for the Switch 1. I was like, there's no way, it's just going to be a buggy mess. But it actually runs well for what it is. It runs well for what it is. But yeah, obviously it's not going to blow your mind. But yeah, for the size of the team, you can't knock it.
No.
Right, let's just turn into a gaming podcast. I love it. Alright, that's alright. I can just about get the ball. I'm struggling big time with this. It's kind of one of them where
playing in goal, to be fair.
see, they won't let me. He won't let me go in goal. That's my position. He will not let me in there, and I'm getting quite annoyed up front because I just cannot get the ball. It's one of them things I keep seeing on TikTok everywhere. It's like people making videos, oh, how can I get better at rematch? And everyone's like, oh, there's this thing called pass, and it's just game-changing mechanic. And you think, it's so true. No one knows how to pass on this game. It is an absolute joke. It's like playing clubs.
Even if they do know how to pass, I don't think people do actually pass. Like, even if they know how to pass, they just... The amount of... Especially, I suppose it'd probably be different if I'd unlock rank play, but in the quick play modes, it's so... very, like, fucking... thingy heavy. Like, everyone just wants to do what they want to do, basically.
I think that's the thing as well. Like, because everyone's in quick play trying to get ranked, everyone's assumption is, oh, well, I've got to score, like, every goal and I've got to do every skill move so I can rank up. Yeah. And it's like, actually, if you do this thing called win, that helps you rank up. And, yeah, it's just mad to me. But, again, it's a new game, I suppose. People are getting used to it. I was lucky I got to play the beta, which... just completely different game to this. I'm 1-0 down as well. Yeah, completely different game to this. The beta was really good. And this, it's come out. And I've not been disappointed. It's still a really good game. But... I don't know, the gameplay seems so much different, but not in the better way. I don't know. Very odd. So, let me move on to the first question. I'm in the middle of trying to read and play at the same time. I need, like, to have my eyes facing 2 different directions. That would help me out massively.
If only you was a chameleon.
No, honestly. It's eyes on the side of my head, just move them at will. But no, wasn't to be. So this is the thing. See, look, we're 1-0 down now. And the ball is just stuck to, like, one person's foot. He's just not passing it for love nor money. And that's when it starts to get annoying. Because you're just running around for 5 minutes. I say that, he's passed me the ball. Ah, and that's why I don't pass the ball. Jesus. I don't know where that was going. Yeah, it's one of them things where you just spend, like, the game's 5-6 minutes just running around, like, can I have the ball? Are you going to do anything with it? Are you going to give me the ball?
Are you going to pass me the ball or not?
Yeah. Gets such a pain at times. Right, we've all but lost.
Pass.
Right, let's get into it. So, I was going to say for those of you that don't know, but no one's seen the podcast yet, because 1, this isn't out.
I dived the wrong way as well.
And 2, yeah, this is the first episode, so it's not out yet. So there's nothing to kind of benchmark it to. So what this is going to be, like I say, it's a mental health podcast, but it's not going to be anything where we deep dive into things and, you know, really pull apart the nitty gritty stuff. It's more of a canvas for 1, people to speak, but 2, so you guys can get, like, hints and tips on how you can deal with mental health and stuff like that, and, like, what's worked for other people that might not necessarily work for you, but success stories, you know, to kind of show you guys that it doesn't last forever and it always gets better. And that's kind of the best way I can put that. So, talking of mental health, I will start with you, Andrew. A very very quick check-in. On a scale of 1 to 10, right this second, where are you sitting?
For me, I'm probably going to say around a 3 or a 4, I think. I think my mental health's pretty... I'm feeling pretty good with my mental health at the moment, to be fair.
That's good.
sometimes unhealthily, the best way I deal with it is I'd just game forever. It's not always the healthiest way to do it. But yeah, I think at the moment 3 or 4. I think I think I'm probably probably not the ideal first person on the podcast to be fair, because I'm relatively low. But yeah, I think obviously we'd rather people not be at like 9s and 10s and stuff like that. Hopefully we'd want them to reach out to either us or someone they love or whatever before it gets to that stage. Because obviously, like myself, I've been at that stage at one point. I'm sure you have, John, at one point. There's probably so many people that we know that have been at them points. Then it's kind of like we need to sort of break the stigmas, and I don't know, the old cliche saying it's okay not to be okay, isn't it? That's probably like the most common one. And I think that is probably like the biggest saying that you could sort of live by.
Yeah, I think spot on. Like you say, it's not just. Yeah, I mean, it's great to hear that at the minute you're doing good, but obviously, there's been times where everyone's been there. A lot of people won't speak about it, a lot of people won't admit it. But everyone's been there in a time in their life where they're not doing okay, and obviously it's going to sound really bad, but obviously when people come onto the podcast, we don't want them at that point, because it's like, well, this is, it kind of becomes news to you, like, oh, I didn't know. Yeah, and you really want, like you say, you'd think that people are going to reach out, or you'd hope that people are going to reach out, and that people aren't going to suffer in silence, because that's the worst thing. But I want to go to a point where he said about dealing it with gaming. I think that kind of, we've all done it, especially like in our little circle. That is probably why we've got such a little tight-knit community. It's because that is our way of dealing with it. I know that's my way of dealing with it. If I'm having like a really bad day, or I just need an escape from something, I'm like, right, I'm going to chuck the Xbox on and just game it away. And for me, I find it works, and I'm sure you can, like, attend to that. Like you said, sometimes it's not the best done thing, but that, I don't know how to explain it. Like, for me, I know it's probably not the healthiest, but equally, it's like, I know for a quick fix, I suppose that's the best way to put it. The best way to put it, for a quick fix, it works. And at that time, I'm not thinking about it. And it's the same as the football, why we started the football side of things, is that for the time that we're playing football, we're not thinking about it. So, although in our eyes it might not seem like a healthy fix, realistically it's what works for us. And I think that's kind of what I want to achieve with this platform, is finding what works for people. And for people that are watching or listening that kind of go through times and are like, oh, actually, I don't know what works for me. It's like, oh, well, that worked for this person, so I want to try that. And I think that's kind of the level I want to get to with this.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying, obviously, gaming is not sort of healthy for it. I think, obviously, like everything in moderation is okay. I just think, obviously, I sort of excessively will play, which I know is not healthy. But yeah, like you say, different stuff works for different people. And I think, like you say, it's just about getting ideas out there as to what could help them. Because, like you say, there's people that don't actually know. They don't know. It might be their first time ever going through like an experience like this. They might have never experienced like sort of any form of depression before, and then all of a sudden, oh my god, like it's like the worst moment in their life for whatever reason, whatever has happened in their lives. And they might not know how to deal with it. So yeah, I think obviously making the podcast is a great way to get ideas out there. Just for people in general, really. Even for myself, I'll be watching the different one, like the different guests that you get on, and there might be tips and tricks. I think, oh, actually, this will be quite handy for me. So yeah, I'm not. I don't think we're like experts by any stretch of the imagination. Like I'm not a trained psychologist or anything like that. But if I could help at least one person, then I've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I couldn't put that any better myself, to be honest. And like you said as well, and come back to a point you said about sometimes people might not have had that thing where they've had to face anything yet. And then when it does happen, it's like a massive shock to the system. And that's a point I've been at, and I think that's why it kind of hit me so hard, was because, you know, it's not necessarily the feeling of, oh, I feel sad, I feel depressed, but it's like, how do I change that? And I think that's what makes it a million times worse, because at that point you kind of think, I'm going to feel like this forever. And no one wants that, you know. Like you say, it can be like one of the worst feelings in the world. So to not know how to deal with it, it just makes you feel like you're in a hole, and you're like, oh, I'm never going to get any better. And that's when it starts to really dive down. So I think if something like this, like you say, if it can just, one person can find one tip that's going to help improve their mood and help make them feel better, then I'd say we've done a good job. And that's really what it's about for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Like I say, for me, I sort of didn't really suffer with. Well, I don't think I suffered. There might have, looking back on it in hindsight, you might think, oh, actually, that was probably like a trigger or like a moment where I was sort of depressed. But I think obviously the main one for me was when my mum passed away in 2020. That was obviously like probably the biggest sort of moment in my life so far, in my 31 years of being on this earth. Yeah, that was sort of like the biggest moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it's kind of hard it's hard, like obviously when anyone passes away, really, but I think when it's like immediate family, it's like life still goes on. That's the hard thing that you've got to come to terms with. Like your world might have completely stopped, but the world still goes on around you, and you've just got to find some sort of way of dealing with that.
Yeah, I think it's
that's
like
sort
you
of
say,
like the hardest thing.
Yeah, I think it's very much. Yeah, I couldn't actually put that better myself either. About how do you cope with it? Like, whether you like it or not, life still goes on. Day to day still happens, and yeah, it's just about adapting and finding ways to cope. Which, again, this is the other thing that no one can. Like you said, we're not trained psychiatrists. We're not. We're just guys. Like, we're just us. But no one can sit there and go, oh, well, this is going to work for you, and this is how you should feel, and this is how you should cope with it. Because everyone copes with things differently. And, you know, and it comes down to interest as well. Like, we obviously love gaming. So for us, gaming's a big distraction. But if you've got someone, you're saying to someone, oh, gaming works for me, yeah? So hop on, I don't know, Call of Duty. If you're feeling down and depressed, give it like an hour, and you're going to feel better.
Down.
That's probably the worst game, yeah. I probably couldn't have picked a worse game.
Call of Duty, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to feel worse about yourself, jump on that.
Yeah, if there's anything like that you sort of enjoy playing, even if you're not like a regular gamer, but you might play on the off chance or whatever, and you're like, oh, actually, I enjoy playing, whether that be a solo, like a one-player game or a multiplayer game. If it just brings you that little bit of joy, even it could be Call of Duty. Some people do enjoy the whole Call of Duty aspect and playing multiplayer. They find it relaxing. Not for me. It's not normally relaxing, to be fair. But yeah, even if like you say, even if they just find that whatever game they actually enjoy playing and just play that for maybe an hour, a couple of hours, it sort of takes your mind. The same with the football side. That 90 minutes, you don't have to worry about anything else going on in your life apart from what's happening on that pitch. You don't have to worry about anything else. Like, nothing from your life is going to come onto the pitch and be like, oh, this is like, you need to deal with this now. You can obviously always deal with it after the full-time whistle, for example. So yeah, I just think, just finding whatever really works for you. If you are sporty or whatever, maybe, I don't know, go out for a run or a jog, or whatever, just to clear your mind, listen to some music, just take an hour, just basically for yourself, really. Because sometimes
Yeah,
you
I
have to be
think.
selfish. It's not about
Hmm.
seeming like I'm antisocial if you're like with your family and you're just like, I don't know, shut yourself in your bedroom or whatever. It's just about taking it. Sometimes you have to be selfish. You have to look out for number one because unfortunately, there's not many people in the world that are going to look out for you. Um, you might have a few, um, but the general population are not going to. No one like not many people are going to care if you're sad or you're feeling lonely or down or depressed or whatever. They're just going to be like, well, it doesn't affect me, so why do I have to worry?
I think that's such an
So yeah, I think
important
just
thing as well. Like you just said, actually, you made a really good point, and I don't want to get that overlooked. About sometimes you have got to be selfish, and I think that's one of the hardest things because you think, um, you kind of battle with yourself because you know that you being selfish for like even half a day, a couple of hours, I don't know what it's going to be, but you're like, yeah,
mm,
and then you feel like, people are going to feel like I'm pushing them away, and then you just then try and put on a front that equally isn't going to help. You're like, I'm going to try and socialize because I don't want to, like, I don't want people to feel like I'm pushing them away. When that's the last thing you want to do is be socializing, and I think that's such an important thing that
mm,
people overlook is that as much as we say it's okay not to be okay, it's okay to be selfish when you need to be. Like, it is okay to take that time for yourself.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think obviously there are probably like very unhealthy ways to deal with it. Like I say, like drinking excessively is probably like the top one that people turn to all the time, myself included. I was lucky enough that my partner noticed I was drinking more and more, and she was the one who actually said I should probably go to the doctors. So yeah, obviously not everyone's got that. Like there's people that are single and people wouldn't know. Obviously to them it doesn't seem like, even to me I didn't seem like I was drinking more. I was just it was out of the ordinary. Like I wouldn't normally drink every day. Whereas obviously I was, even if it was just one or two, but then obviously that one or two leads to then three and four, four and five, and so on and so on. It's a slippery slope. The same way with sort of anything really, like anything that's addictive, drugs and gambling and stuff like that. They're probably not healthy ways to deal with it. And they're very slippery slopes to. They're even harder to come back from than the thing that's made you sad or depressed in the first place.
Yeah,
But like
100%.
you said earlier, you made a good point as well. Like, it's not just although it is like feeling sad. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, well, you're just sad," and just brush it off.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like you say, is how like you don't wake up and be like, you know what, today I'm just going to choose to be sad.
Yeah.
It's sort of how do you stop yourself from feeling that way? And that's another, yeah, like a good point you made. That's another obstacle that you have to sort of overcome in the whole complexity of mental health. Um, like you're battling, like you say, you're battling with yourself because you think, well, I don't want to be sad, but I don't actually know how to stop making myself feel sad. So you're kind of always in that vicious circle going round and round, and you're like, well, people say to you, "Oh, just stop being sad," and you're like, well, if it was that easy, then there wouldn't be depression in the first place.
Yeah, that's it.
um,
All the psychiatrists
so
would be
yeah,
out of a job.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. We'd all be qualified.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is just finding that whatever works for you and sticking to it. Hopefully, until you feel better. Because I know there's other times where you can go completely the other way. So you sort of you feel okay, but then you still do the habits that you use for when you're feeling sad, and then obviously it sort of takes away the impact from them if you're doing it. Like for me, if I was gaming like excessively because I'm sad, and then I kept doing it after I'd got over the period of depression or whatever, then it kind of takes away the effect of me because I'm like, well, I do this on a day to day anyway, so what different? This doesn't actually make me feel any better because this is something I would do normally.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Yeah, I
getting
think.
that balance to sort of not do it to excess.
Mhm.
Because again, everything in the world nowadays is addictive. To be fair, food, gaming, anything, you can get addicted to pretty much anything. So yeah, it is that fine line between doing enough and then doing too much.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing actually that you mentioned, that it's not something that you like consciously think about. You know, like we can all jump on, or for us lot at least, like jump on the Xbox and think, oh yeah, like we'll have a little gaming session. Um, but you're not necessarily doing it at the time because you're sad. You're doing it because you want to play with your mates. Where
Mm.
then you come to that time where you are sad and think, oh, I want to jump on with my mates, and you do like the same. I don't know, like say a 4 hour session, and you think, well, I don't feel any different, and that's because you're now just doing it because you want to, and not because it's something that you think, oh yeah, this is going to help me. Because you're not thinking about
Mm.
that it helped you before. That is now something that is in your routine. So yeah, it is going to lose that effect, and I think that is something that people need to kind of be conscious of. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but
Yeah.
yeah, don't let like your coping mechanisms become part of your routine, because then that's one less thing that you've got to fall back on when the time comes.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like I suppose it's like anything; it becomes sort of less effective over time. I suppose if you're just going to keep doing it, then you're going to be like, oh well, actually, this is not making me any better.
Mm. Yeah, no,
Um,
bang on.
so
Honestly,
yeah, I just think there are, like I say, there are probably lots of coping ways to deal with it, like for different people and stuff like that. And like I say, yeah, it's just sort of finding whatever sort of works for you,
yeah,
and again trying to stick to it, but then not stick to it too much. It's kind of it is a very fine line, um, and it's a very complex sort of issue.
yeah, 100%. I think, like you say, if you can find that fine line, I think yeah, it's just about don't let it become a part of your daily routine just because it's worked for you when you're feeling sad. It is about then, yeah, keeping that fine line between, right, it helps me day to day, but I don't want it to become a habit to the point that it's not going to help me and that it's just part of my daily routine now.
Yeah.
Just had one of the worst games of my life as well, so that is really upset me. Right. So yeah, I mean, my next question was gonna be like, what's on your mind? But that would be more if you had like a low score. To be fair, your score's like really good at the minute, which is a really good thing. So
Yeah.
what I will do is open the floor up a little bit, a little bit of a more open conversation, and one,
Oh, here we
give
go.
you a chance to talk about like any recent insight, which we've kind of done actually. We've kind of covered basis, like what works for you, what you found works for you recently, but also like any wins that you've had recently that you think, yeah, that's been a really good thing that I've overcome, or I've had this challenge in my life recently that I've overcome, little things like that.
Well, probably the main one for me was the whole losing my job situation and then finding another job. Um, that's probably my biggest win at the moment.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that was quite tough. Obviously, finding out that you're not going to have a job just before Christmas, and it's kind of like, oh, what do I do now? Especially like
Yeah.
the busiest time of the year, you're like, oh, what do I do? Um, but yeah, I was lucky enough to find a job in a better firm, better pay. So in a way, I suppose you could say, well, everything happens for a reason, and this was the reason that it happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was probably like the biggest challenge I've faced recently, I suppose. Obviously, another one that I know a few people know, but many people don't, was the whole fostering situation for me and my partner.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, we were foster carers, and we're currently not foster carers anymore. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, we was foster carers for 2 years. We had one child with us who we wanted to adopt. Unfortunately, we wasn't able to. He went to a new family February of this year. Which we're really happy. He's with a loving family and stuff like that. But again, it just comes down to the fact that we didn't have enough money and a big enough house, basically. Which is probably not ideal, like not what you'd typically look for if you're gonna look after a kid for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a bit like, oh well, we was good enough to like obviously look after him for 2 years, but then when someone with a bit more money came along, we sort of got through to the wayside. So yeah, obviously me and my partner we stopped that. So that was kind of difficult because although I got a job that had better wages, my partner was out of work, so we kind of wasn't any better off than we was before.
Yeah.
But now hopefully she's got to sign the paperwork on Tuesday, and hopefully she'll have a new job. So hopefully things will be on the up.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, that's a really shitty thing actually. Like you say, why was you good enough for 2 years? And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh well, they've got more money. That doesn't mean that you can look after someone better. I think that's a really shitty situation, to be honest. Like, you can have all the money in the world. That doesn't make you a good parent. It doesn't make you a good carer, a good whatever.
No.
So yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
We decided that we wasn't gonna do fostering anymore. We enjoyed obviously looking after little Peter and that. But yeah, I think the kids, like looking after the kids, was the easy bit. It was all the sort of paperwork and red tape you had to jump through to make sure that you could foster and that. And I understand why they do it. I just think it was a bit excessive. Considering like we'd been doing it 2 years and they sort of got to know us as people. I think it was just a bit excessive in the paperwork side. So obviously we're not Fosco's anymore, but hopefully my missus' new job should be alright.
Well, fingers crossed, yeah. Well, that's a good thing as well. Obviously, both of you's finding new jobs this year. Like you say, you losing your job, massive thing, but equally, looks like it was a massive blessing in disguise, like going into something better. So that's a really good thing, a really big win. Let me. Sorry, I'm defending for my life at the minute. I literally. Yeah, it didn't work. They scored anyway.
We're 2-0 down, so nothing's gonna. We're not gonna win this.
We was 1 up in 10 seconds, and we're now 2-1 down. So it's really good. Love this game. It's just like Rocket League for me. I'm equally bad at that. That is a mad goal, actually. I'll give him that. Can't take that away from him.
I've just had a shot and it's literally gone up. Well, if it could have gone out for a throw, it probably would have. But lucky enough, it's got the walls up. So
that's why I don't like going up top, because I'm aiming at the goal, and somehow it goes like left. I'm aiming dead down the centre, and it's going for the corner flag. I don't understand that. Right, what? And again, this is something else we kind of covered. And I think this is what the good thing of this kind of podcast is. It's not like a follow it section by section. It's that we're kind of covering points that I wanted to cover anyway, because it kind of overlaps the things that we are discussing. Because what I was going to ask you next was about dealing with like times when you are suffering with your mental health, and like what has worked for you in the past. But like I say, we've already really covered that, which I think we've covered some really good points. That, and again, there's one point that you made like about the not letting it become a habit, because that is something that you don't think about. You just subconsciously think that it's worked for me, so I'm gonna keep doing it, when actually you're kind of damaging yourself. Or not damaging yourself, that's the wrong word, but you're kind of damaging the effectiveness. Yeah. Because it's worked for you, so you just think, right, that's now what I'm going to keep doing. When realistically, you keep doing it isn't doing anything for you, it's just in your mind. I kind of get, like, it is in your mind, but equally you're not choosing it. But you keeping the habit is kind of keeping the mental health at bay, whereas when the time comes again where you are feeling like the sadness and you are feeling depressed, what you've done in the past now isn't going to work. So you are kind of back to square one. So it's kind of
Mm.
it's a lose-lose realistically. But yeah, it's kind of the thing with mental health is like we said, there's no like book that could ever be written as to right, you're feeling sad, you're feeling depressed, you need to do A, B, and C, because it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and equally, there's no sort of like one size fits all sort of fix for it. There's no
Yeah,
guarantee that, like, for me, gaming works for me and for many other people in obviously the Cedar Avenue like community. But then again, like I say, it's not going to work for everyone. Like, if people don't enjoy gaming, then there's no point in them going out to buy a console just because we've said, oh yeah, gaming worked for us and it might work for you. There's no sort of like one size fits all. It's just about, like you say, finding out what does work for you, what you enjoy. Say, I don't know, maybe you enjoy reading a book or whatever. Maybe just read your book for an hour or whatever you enjoy doing. Just do that for an hour. And it's something that doesn't either one remind you of the thing that's causing you to feel sad and depressed in the first place, and two, just something that you really enjoy doing. Because 9 times out of 10, well, not 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, it's going to be a lot better if you're doing something that you enjoy anyway.
yeah,
If you're just doing it because, oh, I don't know, that guy on the podcast told me to, there's going to be a bit like it's probably not going to be as effective. You actually have to actively probably enjoy what you're doing, to reap the benefits.
yeah. I think the most important thing that we could ever say to anyone is just try and find the distraction. Like, it might not be a final fix, because I don't think there's ever going to be a final fix. Like, you can be medicated and you can have therapy and X, Y, and Z. But I think the best way to kind of ease it, I suppose, as such, would be to just find the distraction. But like we say, there's no distraction that's going to work for anyone, for everyone. That just because you like gaming and it does work for us, there might be people that like gaming as well. Like you say, if someone's main game's Call of Duty and they're feeling a bit down and depressed, that
it's probably
I
not
wouldn't be able to
the
jump
ideal
on.
game to play.
Yeah, if anything, it's gonna make me wanna. It's gonna make me feel worse.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. It is a tough one, but such is life. Right, one last thing I would like to ask you, which I don't know if we've kind of covered it. I wouldn't say we have. What would you say at this current time as we are recording would be your biggest challenge? Now, I know that you gave a pretty high score, like your mental health's in a good place currently. But what would you say could make it not nothing? It'll probably never be a 10. I don't think anyone's mental health will ever be a 10. But what would you say is the biggest challenge that's preventing it from being like the highest score that you could possibly give? If that makes sense.
For me, I probably think at the moment, just with the situation that it's been, well, it's probably the same for like 99.9% of people all over the world, is money.
Yeah.
Obviously relying on sort of one income from having two incomes before, it's not ideal. But we're getting by. We're still eating, we've still got a roof, we've got XYZ, so we're a lot luckier than most people. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest challenge is sort of money. And like I say, it's probably the majority of people do have money issues, or everyone wants more money, obviously. I don't think there'll be anyone on the earth that would probably say, "Oh yeah, I'll take less money," actually. But yeah, I think that's probably, for me anyway, that's my biggest one at the moment. But hopefully, like I say again, my missus getting the job, that should hopefully help us out a bit. And hopefully my score will go even lower, hopefully. which will be
I think,
great.
yeah, that's it. No, I think, like you say, it's a big shock. Not like a big culture shock that you go from two incomes and like you've got everything sorted to all of a sudden. Especially in the situation that you guys had where you was both out of work. Like, I think it's a massive adjustment that you're like, shit. When are you gonna find it? Especially when you got outgoings. Like, your main thing then becomes, right, I need to find something that is gonna cover what we need to cover, and then I think it puts a lot more pressure on than people that, and again, it's a very small percentage of people that don't have outgoings and that are like, oh, well, I've lost my job, I'm going to have to go without a few things for a while, as opposed to like necessities and like needing the money.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I
But
think, yeah, for me, obviously, I've got a household to run and stuff like that. It's kind of like, well, if I don't pay this, then I'm not going to have anywhere to live, or I'm
yeah,
not going to be able to eat anything, for example, or but what I will say is, for the majority of, well, in my experience anyway, a lot of the sort of creditors that I've got either loans with or like I need to pay stuff with, if you just speaking to them, is they've all helped me out. I explained the situation to them, and they've been nothing but helpful. So I can't really fault them in that respect. There might be people that have had obviously a different experience to myself, but just for me personally, I would encourage anyone, if you are having money issues and you are struggling to make ends meet and make your payments, then I would just pick up the phone to whoever it is you've got to make payments to, and just say, look, please, like I'm going through money troubles. They should be able to sort out some sort of payment plan for you. And yeah, like I say, they've been nothing but helpful for me. So again, I think it goes back to the cliche saying of just speak up. Anything mental health related, just speak to anyone. Whether it is money issues, whether you are going through a life event that's obviously affecting you. Obviously, there's certain experiences that I've got in life which people don't have. Like, there's obviously people have got experiences like me as well. So I know I can speak to people who've lost parents. But then there's other people who haven't lost parents, and they're like, oh, actually, I can't really help you with this because I don't know. I could imagine how you would feel, but you can't. You don't actually know how you would feel in that situation. So yeah, I think just obviously reaching out to people, and like you say, we've got the community here, and we've all had different life experiences. So we should be able to sort of cover all bases. For whatever issue you are going through, then yeah, just reach out to us, and hopefully we'll talk you through your issue and help you out.
yeah, and I think we're lucky to have the community we've got because a lot of people don't have that. So yeah, again, like I would reiterate Andrew's message that, if you are one of those people that are like, oh well, I could do with being in a community like that, our doors are and always will be open to everyone. So just join. Like, there's no loops you've got to jump through. There's no subscription fees, nothing like that. Our doors are open to everyone. They always will be open to everyone because we want to help everyone, or as many people as we can. You're never going to be able to help everyone. That's just a sad reality of life. But I think you're always going to find someone in our little group that will be able to give you advice that is going to work for you. And actually, I'm really glad that you brought up the money thing, because again, that's something that a lot of people do struggle with, but won't have that thought process of just speaking up about it, because people get embarrassed about it. Like, they're going through money issues, and people's first instinct is obviously, right, I need to get over this. But secondly, they don't want to speak up about it because they don't want people to know. But I think that you made an amazing point of just be honest about it. You don't have to go on Facebook and be like, good evening, guys. Just to let you know, I've got no money, might lose my house, blah, blah, blah. But especially with the people that you are supposed to be paying on a regular basis, just be upfront with them and they will appreciate that, and they will have something that can help you, because you're not the only person, and you're never going to be the only person that might miss a payment, or might, lose your job, might have a loss of income, and that might not be able to make that same payment. So
Yeah.
the more that you're open and upfront about it, the more they can help. Whereas if you just leave it, you're just digging yourself into a deeper hole.
Yeah.
So I would
like
say,
you say, you're certainly not going to be the first, and you're certainly not going to be the last
no, that's
person
it.
to not be able to make a payment. So yeah, I didn't speak to him for a while, and then just got to the point where I was like, well, actually, I should probably, before they come round and repossess the house, I should probably say, oh, I'm having these issues. I've lost my job. Blah blah blah. I'm looking for one. I'm actively looking for work. Yeah, and like I say, they was nothing but helpful for me. They deferred payments. Obviously, I told them when I got a job. They said, "Oh, if you make the next 2 payments, then we can do a payment deferral. So you're not gaining interest on it. It'll just go on to the end of your loan." So yeah, it was, like I say again, they was nothing but helpful. So
Yeah, I
I
must
encourage people to
admit,
pick up the phone.
yeah, 1,000,000%. If I'm very much a person that will look back at life and be like, oh yeah, I don't live by any regrets. But that is, if I've regretted anything in this life, that is probably the one thing I do regret. Is that I let it mount up and up for so long that I got myself in even more trouble than I would have been in. And if I'd have just picked up the phone from day one and said, look, this is my situation. Unfortunately, this is what I'm going through, and I'm not going to be able to make all of the payments. I'm going to fall behind. Like, can you help? Then I would have been in a much better situation than what I was in. And yeah, a lot less threats to have my stuff taken from me. Let's say that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's kind of, yeah, they're not gonna mess about for too long. They will end up coming round, and obviously, yeah, by that time it's probably too late because you owe even more because you have to pay for them to actually come to the house and XYZ. So yeah, I think just picking up the phone as early as you can. We're probably not great examples because we've both done exactly the same thing where we didn't and we waited a while. But obviously that's the whole point of having this conversation and this whole podcast is obviously we can speak from experiences and try and guide people to not make the same mistakes that we did. Pretty much like our children, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like you say, we might not be the best people, but actually, we've made the mistakes, so other people don't have to. We've not sat there and gone, all right, well, we didn't know. So if we can pass on that hint of wisdom to someone else that might find themselves in that situation or is currently in that situation, we now know, and to say, look, just pick up the phone. Like you say, they're only gonna muck about for so long. Like, there are companies that I missed one payment and they went straight to the courts. Whereas, why take that risk? Just, I thought, I'll get back on my feet and I'll just make payments when I can, and they won't bother me. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. Now, put yourself in a situation where you've lent someone, I don't know, 50 quid, and you're like, oh, I kind of want that 50 quid back. We're talking about a lot more money than that. So just be upfront with them. Just say, look, this is what's happened. Learn from our mistakes. I think it's the best way I can kind of end that on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just learn from the stuff that we didn't do.
Yeah, let us make the mistakes so you don't have to.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe that should be the slogan of the podcast.
Yeah, I might have to. That might be the title. Learn from our mistakes. No, it's not as catchy. Yeah, let us make the mistakes so you don't have to. Episode 1. I like that. That might have to be. Might have to be the title card. I think that works.
Yeah.
Right. Just before we wrap up, because we've just lost 4-0 as well, so that game's wrapped up. Do you have anything else that you would like to get off of your chest, or are we all good?
No, I think the last thing I'll probably leave it on would be, just is so cliche, but just speak up. Especially for men. I'm not saying obviously women don't suffer mental health issues, but there's a lot more stigma around men and the whole man up phrase that should just be thrown in the bin, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's okay. Again, it's okay to not be okay. Doesn't make you any less of a man if you're crying on the phone to me. I'm not going to think, oh my god. Like, if you do pick up the phone to me and you're just bawling your eyes out, it is what it is. It doesn't make you any less of a person, any less of a human being. We've all, well, not all of us, but the majority of us have been in that place at some point in our life. It'd be very good if there was no one at that point in their life, but unfortunately, that's not the way the world works. So yeah, I'll just say pick up the phone, chat to anyone. Like even if you don't want to chat to anyone that you know, just because it's embarrassing, just chat to any one of us. Like I'd happily sit on a phone call where you don't even have to say anything. If you're just crying, I'd happily sit on a phone call just to listen. Like, I'm not here to judge anyone. There's no judgments made. It's just it is what it is. We all go through those points in our life, and sometimes it is easier talking to someone that you don't know. They don't know your issues, you don't know their issues, and it's kind of like, well, this is the best way to help them.
Yeah, you know what? I actually couldn't put it better myself. I think people always know someone, but I think, like you say, there are people that are going to be embarrassed to talk to people that they know. I know that I was at first. I was like, oh, well, I don't want to be judged. But I think, yeah, I think people just need to talk. It's so much easier said than done, but just talk it out. You'll feel a million times better. A problem shared is a problem halved. I've heard that somewhere before, or something similar to that.
Yeah,
something very
that is
similar.
That is the same.
There you go.
And
I won't go mad.
there is a shit ton of courage in being vulnerable as well.
Yeah, that's it. Like you say, it's talk to someone you don't know. Someone you don't know is a lot. It's as horrible as it sounds. Someone you don't know is a lot less likely to judge because they don't know what to judge you on. But yeah, you've got options. Talk to someone you know. Talk to a support group. There's plenty of phone lines out there if that's your thing, and you want to phone a helpline. Just talk. That's the bottom line. That's as best as I think we can both put it. Just talk.
Yeah.
Talk it out.
Yep, that is it. Just talk.
And I'm going to wrap it up there. So, if you do need to talk, I'm going to leave some links.
It's been a pleasure.
No, it's been a pleasure having you on. I think we've covered some really good points, actually. And hopefully, like you said, if it can help just one person, then it's well worth sitting here for an hour and talking each other's ears off. So,
yeah,
I'm going to...
playing games.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe not together, because it's not bloody crossplay yet. Rematch, sort it out. No, you've done a great job. It's a really good game. But yeah, I'm going to leave some links in the description. I will leave a link to the Cedar Avenue Esports Discord server. There's so many words. Just, yeah, like, if you come across this video, you need someone to talk to, come and join us. No one's going to judge you. And if you're one person that we manage to help, then it's a job well done in my eyes. So, on that note, I'm going to say a big thank you to Andrew for joining me. I am going to escape this sweat box because I'm bloody dripping. And I will bid you all farewell, and I will see you all for the next episode. Thank you, and goodbye.